everybody, and welcome back to SFC's Food for Thought series. My name is Hannah, and I'm a third-year student at U of C in natural science. And with me today, I have Lily and Ryan. Lily, do you want to give yourself a little introduction?
Hi, everybody. My name is Lily Peterson. I've been with SFC for about 4 months now. I graduated from SAIT in 2019 from the journalism program, and I'm really excited to hear Myles' speech today.
My name is Ryan Fournier. I've been with SFC since January. I'm currently finishing my 4th year in a double major in criminology and political science, and I'm very excited to finish this year and graduate finally, be done with school.
That is very exciting, Ryan. For everyone that is just seeing SFC for the first time, we are an advocacy group made by young professionals for students and young professionals, and we believe that Canada can have a strong future in resources, the economy, and the environment. Please check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. All of them are at Students for Canada if you want to learn more about what we do. Joining us today, we have Myles Fischer. Myles is a 4th year political science student at the University of Calgary and an active SFC member. As the recipient of the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Scholarship, Myles was able to spend his summer working as the intern of the chair on countering illicit trade and preventing transnational organized crime at the University for Peace, a United Nations mandated university located just outside of Costa Rica's capital city, San Jose. In his presentation, Myles will share his experience living and working in Costa Rica, as well as some of the opportunities that exist for you to have a similar experience through the Queen Elizabeth Scholars Program. Just before I hand the floor over to Myles, please know that attendees are encouraged to ask questions using the Q&A box below, and we will address all of them at the end of the session. Alrighty, thank you so much for joining us today, Myles. If you want to go ahead and share your screen, then we can get going.
Awesome, thank you so much, Hannah. Sorry, we'll go with the technical stuff here first. Share screen. Okay, everyone can see that? Or wait.
Perfect, looks good.
Perfect, looks good. Okay, awesome. So thank you for the introduction, and thank you so much for having me. So as Hannah had kind of said there, what I really want to do today is give you a small sample of my study abroad experience. And hopefully with that, that can give you some insights as to what the benefits are from doing a study or work abroad program for yourself. Additionally, with this presentation, I hope that I can give you some of the tools that you would need to find a study abroad program that fits your interest. So with that being said, let's get started. So I did my study abroad program in Costa Rica. So we'll start off a little bit of context as to where that is. So Costa Rica is a Central American country, which sits just north of Panama and south of Nicaragua. The population there is roughly 5 million, and it's mostly concentrated in the Central Valley where the capital city of San Jose is located. So with that being said, with the population mostly concentrated in that urban area, most of the tourism there is ecotourism. So people don't really go to Costa Rica to see the capital city. When people go there for travel, they usually go there for the beaches, the mountains, the rainforest, and the volcanoes, which is kind of an important part of the geography there. Costa Rica sits right atop of a geological fault line. So what that means is there's a line of volcanoes that goes right through the middle of the country. And another important thing about living there that has to do with that fault line is that means earthquakes happen regularly, periodically. From what I've heard from locals there is they happen about 18 times a year. I experienced 2 of them when I was living there. So it's definitely one of those things that's kind of strange. It's like, oh, the ground is shaking. What do you do? So yeah, another kind of significant geographical feature of Costa Rica is biodiversity. The Costa Rican people are very proud of the biodiversity of the country. Even though Costa Rica only has about 0.03% of the Earth's surface area, Costa Rica contains about 6% of the planet's biodiversity. So that means lots of different types of animals, lots of different types of bugs, even though people don't like that part as much, and lots of different types of food. So in terms of the cuisine there, it's very affected by the climate in that they have tons of fruits and vegetables that you never even would have heard of in Canada. The reason why they're able to grow so many different types of crops has to do with the climate down there. So compared to Canada or Calgary more specifically, Costa Rica is very temperate. So every day when I was there, it was between 23 and 26. and it would rain at exactly 2 p.m., like almost like it was on a timer, like it was pretty incredible. So this enables like a lot of food growth that you might not get in Canada, and a lot of it supports life that you might not that might not be able to get supported in other countries. The climate also impacts energy capability, which is something I would be remiss if I didn't talk about, since the audience here is SFC. So because Costa Rica has such a temperate climate and consistent climate, it's very it's a very good climate for renewables. So almost all Costa Rica's electricity is generated by renewable energy. So that's primarily hydro energy. So they have a large number of rivers per capita in which they can use to generate hydrogen electricity. And a lot of that is fed by the fact that they have consistent rainfall that feeds the rivers. In addition to that, they have geothermal energy is very important there, which comes from the volcanoes that we mentioned earlier. And also wind energy is a big deal there. Another kind of interesting energy fact about Costa Rica is they do not extract oil and gas at all, and they never have. They even considered a bill banning it entirely a few years ago, I believe, but there was a government change last spring, so that bill is kind of in question as to whether that would happen now. But either way, they've never been a significant oil and gas producer, or even a oil and gas producer. So onto the more kind of smaller things about me living in Costa Rica, and some of the culture shocks that I found living there. Probably the biggest one was living in a Spanish-speaking country. So I have a little bit of a background in Spanish, that I took Spanish from elementary through high school. So I definitely knew a little bit going in, but I hadn't spoken Spanish since high school. So it was definitely a lot of relearning that. But with that being said, I think if you are someone who's considering a study abroad program and you don't know the language of the place that you're going at, I think that you can survive, particularly if it's in the Latin America region, or even if you're considering Costa Rica for yourself. And the reason I say that is just a lot of people there will speak English, just because it's good for business, that if you want to work in international business, you probably want to work in the US market. In addition to that, if you want to work in the tourism industry, it's good to know English. And also culture-wise, people there will listen to English music. They'll watch English movies, watch English TV shows. So it's very common for people to speak English there. The second kind of significant thing for me living there was I was living with a host family. So if you do a study abroad program for yourself, you might find that you'll have options to live in an apartment, or to live at the university that you're staying at, or to live with the host family. I would definitely recommend a host family, which is something that I was a little bit nervous about doing in hindsight, just because I felt like it would be a bit strange living at someone's house sort of thing. But it's definitely helpful for two main reasons. So first is that it helps you get integrated with the culture a little bit better. So for one, it forces you to speak the language. Secondly, it gets you into these events where the local people will do parties and do local festivities that you might not know about if you're just living on your own in an apartment. And it also allows you to try the local cuisine, that you're not just cooking the same food that you would cook in Canada with Costa Rican ingredients, that you're actually eating the food that they would cook. And the second reason that I would say it's good to live with a local family is it helps to know what's normal and what's not. So the earthquakes would be a perfect example of that, right? Where I would not know what to do in an earthquake if I was just living on my own in an apartment. But because when they happened, I was living with the host family, they said, okay, you go outside for like 15 minutes, and then if nothing else happens, then you're safe to go back inside. So that's a picture of myself with the host family I was living with. They got really excited on Canada Day and decided to throw like a whole Canada Day celebration and decorated the entire house, which I thought was kind of funny, because I texted my parents about that, and they told me that they had Mexican food on Canada Day. So it kind of shows the difference in festivities there. But so the third kind of point I had about kind of my personal experience living in Costa Rica has to do with where I was staying. So I was living in the small town of Ciudad Colón. So if we go back to the map of Costa Rica here, so Ciudad Colón is just a half-hour southwest of the capital, San Jose there. So it's definitely in a pretty central location. That's very good for doing kind of weekend type adventures. So very close to the capital. So if you want to go to the capital city, buy something that you can't buy in a small town, you can do that. 2-hour drive from the beach, 2-hour drive from nearby volcanoes, very close to the rainforest as well. And I think in general, if you do a study abroad program, they try to send you to areas like that, just because the administrative staff who organize these programs, they want you to explore the country, right? They don't want you to sit in one small corner of the country and stay there the whole time. Like, they want you to have this amazing experience. So these are just some pictures of myself at some of these places. So obviously representing SFC at the beach there, and then at one of the famous Costa Rican volcanoes. So in terms of what I was actually doing for my study abroad program, I was working at the University for Peace, which is a pretty unique institution. So I thought it would be worth kind of describing what University for Peace actually is. So University for Peace or UPeace is an institution dedicated to higher education and the study of peace. It was created by the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 3555 back in 1980. So UPeace has been training leaders for peace for the past 4 decades. So because it was created by the United Nations, all of its programs are kind of aimed at promoting UN objectives. So the main things are human well-being and peace building. So the 3 main departments that the university has, the Department of Peace and Conflict Studies, Environment and Development, and International Law. So one thing about it too is that it's a very international school. So because UPeace is a well-recognized UN affiliate, they get students from all over the planet. So over its past 40-year lifespan, it has had 2,000 alumni from over 120 different countries. From the students that I met, the majority of those came from the US, Germany, and Japan. But you would also get kind of random countries. Like I met one woman who was from Uzbekistan, which I thought was really cool because I was like, I don't know, when else am I going to meet someone from Uzbekistan? So it was definitely good when I was there, I wasn't just able to learn from people who are from Costa Rica, but from people who are from all over the planet. And I think that you'll find that this will be true in most study abroad environments, just because the odds are, if there's a place that's attracting students from Canada, it's not just attracting students from Canada, but it's attracting students from all over the planet, right? So that was the case with the University for Peace. The other kind of unique thing about UPeace, you might have noticed 2,000 alumni over 40 years seems really small. It definitely is. And the reason for that is they only do master's and PhD programs, which was good for me as someone who's planning on going to grad school eventually. I was kind of able to get a vision of what my future might look like as a grad student and kind of talk about what the options are for grad school. And the final point that I have there on just something that's really unique about the University for Peace is that it is a very rural campus. So it's located on 303 hectares of land comprised of protected forest in the small community of El Rodeo, which is just located outside the capital city within the province of San Jose. So it's definitely cool working in the campus in nature there, where I got to see lots of cool wildlife every day. We were nearby lots of farms, so all the farm animals would be very close to campus. Like I remember one time, one of the girls who I was staying with there, a chicken wandered into her office, and then she was sending me videos because she didn't know what to do because I don't know, there's a chicken in her office. But yeah, so lots of rural life there. So in terms of what I was actually doing at the University for Peace, so I wasn't actually studying abroad, I was doing an internship abroad. My official title, a very long one, the intern of the chair on countering illicit trade and preventing transnational organized crime. So my job description is basically to assist the chair of countering illicit trade and preventing transnational organized crime with collecting data with regard to illicit trade and organized crime dynamics and provide support to the design of publications. So the chair is a professor at the university, Dr. Mauricio Vera. So this is a picture of myself and Dr. Vera. They put up the flags at the university every time there's kind of a special event going on. And I don't know, it looks cool. So we took a picture that day, but yeah. So what I was mainly doing day to day when I was there, mainly had to do with reading a lot of documents that my professor didn't have time to read. So going through a lot of UN documents, my main project had to do with another very almost unnecessarily long title, the ad hoc committee to elaborate a comprehensive international convention on countering the use of information and communications technology for criminal purposes. So another very long name there, but basically what that is it's a UN project that they're currently working on to build an international legal framework for preventing cybercrime. So essentially the issue that the ad hoc committee and the convention will hopefully address is that right now, if someone, let's say someone sends you an email scam and they end up getting $500 out of you, and they are located in, we'll say, Belarus. There's not really a whole lot that you can do to prosecute that person because Canada doesn't have a common legal framework with Belarus. So the ad hoc committee and hopefully the convention, once it's completed, will create that common legal framework to pursue cyber criminals that are from faraway places. So essentially what I was doing with that committee was studying the process of creating that committee and reading through all those documents and telling my supervisor what was going on there so that he can eventually write a publication, which is great for me because my name will be on that publication once it comes out. So if you're someone who's hoping to go to grad school, or even if you're not looking at going to grad school, these types of things look really good on a resume to say, hey, I have my name on an academically published article. And the other thing I would mention too about the work that you can do there, if me droning on about organized crime and cybercrime bores the hell out of you, fair enough. It's not for everyone. There's plenty of other jobs. So by example, the two other girls who I was doing the program with, one of them was a business and engineering student, and she worked in the project management office. And her job was essentially a lot of her job had to do with research or looking for grant proposals, so finding money for the university. And she also did something related to the energy consumption and the solar panels at the university, which I didn't totally understand because I'm not an engineering student. But if you are an engineering student, maybe that's what gets you all excited. And the other student that did the same program as me was a fellow poli-sci student, and her research project had to do with migrants in Latin America. So whatever your interests or faculty is, there is a job for you abroad. Whatever you can do in Canada, you can probably do abroad as well. So it's worth looking into, even if illicit trade and organized crime is not your thing. So my placement in Costa Rica was primarily funded by the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Scholarship. So another kind of quick statistic here. So Canada ranks among the countries with the lowest participation rate in international education, with only 3.1% of Canadian students per year going on international study programs or exchanges, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. So the Queen Elizabeth Scholars, or QES program, is essentially trying to change this statistic and increase Canadian participation abroad. So how the program works is it's a collaborative effort through Universities Canada, Community Foundations Canada, and the Raidu Hall Foundation. So essentially that's who it's administrated to. And so the QES program is a project-based scholarship program. So in response to QES calls for proposals, Canadian universities submit project proposals that include inbound and outbound scholarship opportunities in various fields and disciplines. So they don't just send Canadians abroad, but they also bring abroad students to Canada. Approximately 80% of the participants are Canadians traveling abroad, and the other 20% are from other countries coming to Canada. And these stays for QES Scholars programs range from shorter ones like my own, which is 3 months, to longer ones like 3 years. So there's definitely a long range depending on how long you do want to travel abroad for. So how it works after Canadian universities submit project proposals is that universities with winning projects are responsible for the recruitment of scholars based on their area of focus, the partner organizations, and the partner countries. So by example, my program in Costa Rica got started because there's a Costa Rican woman who works at the University of Calgary Study Abroad office, and she knew about University for Peace, and she knew about QES Scholars. So she decided that she was going to create the program, and she ended up winning the award, and she basically administrated the entire program. Like, I was never in communication with the folks at QES Scholars. I was just in communication with her, type of thing. So the main important thing that I do want to emphasize about QES Scholars is that it is not just for University of Calgary students. It is not just for Costa Ricans, or sorry, for people who want to travel to Costa Rica. So all the kind of stats I have on the slide there are just to kind of show how large the program actually is. So you have $80 million raised to support scholarships, 44 Canadian universities leading projects, 89 projects, projected 3,000 scholars through 2022, over 63 countries featuring QES projects and Canadian students, and 650 partner organizations, so that's universities, NGO, research institutes. So just to kind of show this on a map, so this shows everywhere that QES students or QES scholars currently are and have been. So as we can see, a lot of students have come to Canada. You also have a large cluster in Latin America, and a ton in the UK, a ton in sub-Saharan Africa, I guess one lonely project in the Middle East, and a bunch in India, Southeast Asia, as well as Oceania. Some examples of some of the current projects that exist for QES students. So these are just for University of Calgary and University of Alberta. So the University for Peace, the one I did in Costa Rica, various host organizations in East Africa. So you could travel to Tanzania, Uganda, Kenya, and Ethiopia. From the University of Alberta, you have one at the University of Leeds in England, the University of Western Australia, the National University of Singapore, and Aga Khan University in Pakistan. And so one other thing I would say with this too is that, so because it is a project-based scholarship, it's not the same for every school. So if you're a student at University of Alberta, you wouldn't be able to do the University for Peace program. So it's all dependent on what programs your school offers and what programs the study abroad office at your university has kind of organized. And the other thing I would mention about the things that could be program specific too is the requirements may vary per program. So be sure to look at your program specifically to find out what the qualifications are for the QES scholarship for that program. If you are curious about these opportunities for QES that exist at your school, what I would do is just Google Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee scholarships and your school name. Alternatively, you could also just visit your study abroad office and talk to them to see what opportunities exist with QES in case anything's not online for whatever reason. And it also could be just beneficial going to the study abroad office too, because QES is not the only study abroad program in Canada. So it'd be worthwhile to see, okay, what programs are there other than QES? What scholarships are there that could fund my abroad experience, and what places could I go if I do want to study abroad? So that is all for me. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope I inspired at least one person to try a study abroad experience. Thank you.